Oh god, I mean sometimes you get baited, sometimes you get jibaited. Sometimes you get Doran the Truth Teller coming out here. Playable Nerubians coming, new humanoid form. The War Within. They are getting a new humanoid form. It's this part that I'm not sure about. Will they be playable? Let's see what Doran has found here.
Nerubians are obviously coming back in the War Within, but was there really a reason for Blizzard to make them humanoid? And when I say humanoid, I mean humanoid as in optimized to be playable with male and female form. And as you can see, these extra arms don't really do anything, they're just cosmetic. The armor fits them perfectly, just like any other playable race. Blizzard has already confirmed that they're working on new playable races that will be added throughout the World Soul Saga. And remember, despite us getting the...
We will get Tuskar before the end of Dragonflight. I say it every time we talk about this shit.
Announcement of the War Within, races
Bookmark
can be picked up mid-expansion. We had seen that in BFA. They don't need to come out right off the bat. So, are playable Nerubians actually coming in the War Within? How would they work? And what
would be the lore, though?
Fit with them?
Aren't Nerubians kind of siding with the, you know, with Xal'atath and everything? How would we play them? I don't understand how that lore would work. But maybe Doran has an explanation. He is the truth teller, after all. It's not male, it's female. There's type 1 and... yeah, that's right. That's right.
A few months before the World Soul Saga announcement, I made this video on how the Nerubians may be likely to return, could potentially be playable, and that they may be in for
That's right, he did make a video about that before there was
announced. So many people had left comments, they thought this was such an outrageous proposal, insane sounding, which I can agree at the time. I mean, it was kind of ridiculous. However, by now, 2 out of 3 of those predictions turned out to be true. We got Nerubians being a significant part of the War Within. They're going to be the first raid, and they also just got a brand new humanoid form. Now, let me explain to you why I don't think it is actually ridiculous. We're going to get the third prediction as well, because a few things are making this seem very likely in the future. First of all, keep 2 things in mind.
Yeah, Nerubians before Tuskar would cause riots. Also, where the hell are ogres? Those were an original vanilla race. We have never gotten ogres. And we're gonna get Nerubians. Oh
is
my
that
God.
Blizzard has already confirmed they got
Horde are gonna lose their minds.
Races or full-on races in the works for the World Soul Saga, so something will 100% be coming throughout the entirety of this saga. Second is that races don't necessarily need to be announced on BlizzCon. I mean, they can just be added later down the line.
That's fine.
Is essentially how we got a whole bunch of valid races back in BFA. So if you're thinking I don't think that is all they're going to add.
Can anybody in chat tell me, because this is something that people on YouTube have been telling me in the comments, and I don't know if it's true or not, or people are just pulling this out of their ass. Are these dwarves taller than regular dwarves? Somebody keeps saying that. I'm like, oh, well, the Horde and Alliance, the line is blurred anyways. I was saying the other day, because now they both have dwarves, and once you cover these guys in armor, you would never be able to tell that they're not a regular dwarf. We don't know. They look like it. Okay, so is that confirmed or not? Because if they're taller, then you'd be able to tell that these are, in fact, not regular dwarves. But if not, once you cover one of these stony boys in armor, the earthen, you'll never know that they weren't a regular dwarf on the Horde. Yeah, you're a dwarf, you rat? Oh, that's true.
In the War Within. Realistically, the Earthen are just a very simple reskin of regular dwarves that the Horde can now play, and they essentially
could just be quest models that are taller, maybe.
A few crystals that you can't even see when you put the armor on. The only real difference is that they're a little bit bigger, but that's really all there is to it. So
okay, so he's saying they're a little bit bigger, so maybe they actually are. Maybe they actually are a little bit taller.
I think since they announced so many crazy things on BlizzCon at
what, are we gonna get tall gnomes
day,
next?
They might have saved a few things for later down the line to sort of release the hype at a steady pace. Now, the most interesting thing I want you to keep in mind with this is the fact that they are humanoid. Nerubians have been a significant part of Warcraft for well over 2 decades. They were a significant part of your units. You could actually play with the Undead faction back in Warcraft 3. We had the storyline with them with the Anubarak and the Frozen Throne. Then
short
in
orcs, yeah.
We got even more things about the Nerubians. We learned about the whole War of the Spider. We had the entire faction.
I personally love the Nerubian, like the Nerubian Empire. I think it's such a cool piece of lore. I love their architecture, and I really like about the story. If you don't know, between them and the Lich King, they were like one of the toughest battles that the Lich King had was the Nerubians, because they were in essence like very resistant to necromantic magic and everything. So he had a tough time dealing with them. They were hard to kill, hard to res, do all this stuff. I think it's going to be really cool to go back and see them. Maybe we'll get some more Lich King lore out of them. Who knows? But they were around for all that stuff.
We worked together with that are friendly to this day, and they were not like Old God nor Scourge affiliated, and they were clearly set up as the good guys. However, most important thing is that they had their own aesthetic of being Nerubians. They were very big and spider-like, and despite them being friendly and cool, they could never really work as a playable race because, first of all, they're not even bipedal for the most part. They got like 16 arms, so playable Nerubians was really always out of the question.
They got fingers.
However, just out of the blue, Blizzard decided to make up brand new lore where they got turned into a humanoid form, but when you
yeah, in essence, these are like void Nerubians. These are like Xal'atath freaking gave them like, you know, she evolved them a little bit. And now, so now they have 2 feet and all that shit. They're more humanoid.
Actually examine this form in great detail, it gets even crazier. If Blizzard really wanted to bring back Nerubians, they could have done a more updated version of their models with some local specifications.
That's true, like they did with
them. The same guys as in Northrend, but they should
like they did with the horse people. I forget what their name is, but they just updated those models. Yeah, they didn't have to give us new models, but they did. So maybe there's something behind it.
However, they can essentially completely optimize them for being playable while actually keeping this Nerubian spider-like aesthetic. I also think they purposefully put armor on them so that you can see how it works in the early images. I mean, check out, they got 4 arms, but 2 of those are only just a cosmetic addition. They don't really do anything.
So yeah, you could easily equip armor to these guys then if that's the case. You know what? Their build is kind of Draenei like this kind of looks like a female Draenei build, doesn't it? A little bit. Like if we go back here and even look at it, this could be just a reskin of a female Draenei body, especially with the legs and the hooves and everything. Now that I look at it, I mean, if this is just a reskin of a female Draenei, even the tail, if this is just a reskin, then this would be a very easy playable race to make for them because it's already equipped. They could already equip armor to it.
I mean, check out, they got 4 arms, but 2 of those are only just a cosmetic addition.
Even
they
the stance
don't really do anything.
Looks
the
like a
armor
female
is only
Draenei.
on the outer arms. Also, leg armor fits exactly as it would fit a troll or a tauren that don't really have regular feet going on. Additionally, the crazy, you know, numerous size they have, when you compare it with the armor, it also seems like just an aesthetic addition, but with the helmet, they look very much like the other races. Now, with the Dragon as precedent, where they actually managed to make dragons playable with a humanoid form, I really don't think this is a coincidence whatsoever. Even
the whole playable humanoid form thing, I think will, if they ever give us playable Naga, it'll be kind of like that, like they did with the Drakthir, where you have like a Naga form and then a playable humanoid form.
They have this slender elven type form, which is sort of similar to the Drakthir, so I feel like we might get some interesting lore as well as, you know, why would the Drakthir also having a high elven type form when high elves didn't even exist? That is still sort of unclear in Dragonflight. Furthermore, with the Nerubians, we got some really interesting storyline to kind of match with this, so it really seems like something is being set up. Of course, it is really early, so we don't really know what is going on, but essentially, these Nerubians live at the lowest, most layer of Castlegar.
Right.
It seems like they were sort of
I love their
neutral,
architecture.
aka not all God servants, even though that is their original purpose, why they were created, until Xal'atath came in just now, and potentially with the essence of Galakrond she took from the time travel scenario, she converted them to this new form. We don't know whether this conversion was done by force, as it doesn't seem like all of them were converted. I mean, we can still see regular type of Nerubians with the Nerubian Queen model and the Nubarak type models. However, the Queen seems to be on the side of Xal'atath, and it seems like a big internal strife is happening here with a faction not wanting to accept Xal'atath and this order.
So
this
cool.
could be like Orcs 2.0, you know, accepting fel magic, their new form, and then eventually rebelling and realizing they were kind of forced into this. Furthermore, we know that the first raid of the War Within is going to be...
He's trying to explain why they would go to our side, I guess. I mean, yeah, you could say, oh, they don't like the corruption of the Void or something. I don't know. It's a stretch.
Nerubar Palace, where it's hinted that we will fight the Xal'atath-affiliated queen within their kingdom of Azj-Kahet.
Delete that
so all in all, it seems likely that a faction may be turning, and that is why I think we might be getting these humanoid Nerubians joining our factions. Also, there's
Wajo, I do not own a
that they
Chronicle
might
book.
be these children of the first flesh that were
Well, my brother does. It's at my parents' house, but I personally do not.
referenced in that prophecy, and personally, I'm expecting massive lore revamps to how life really was created on Azeroth, Night Elves might...
Yeah, I could see a revamp to how life was created on Azeroth and that whole story, because as of right now, that story of how life began and everything, that's all told to us by the Titans. And we've figured out what if we've learned anything during Dragonflight, other than the power of friendship shall overcome all challenges in our faces, is that the Titans are liars. They've lied to us about everything. Especially when it comes to the Black Empire and all that other stuff and Old Gods and everything. They tried to play them in a negative light, and that might not be the case. So if we figure out a new origin to life and everything, I wouldn't be surprised. Or the true origin of life, and we've been lied to this entire time. That's possible,
even be
too.
trolls, and there might be something we don't really know yet. As keep in mind, all this race
5 Old
origin
Gods
theory
instead of
and
4.
all these race
A
origins
strong
that we
theory
know
at
about
Xal'atath.
is
It's possible.
Chronicle, aka Titan propaganda. Now, as I
Look, Xal'atath being a 5th Old God, we've talked a lot about that on this channel. It's very possible. Now, they call her the Harbinger, so I've often compared her to, what's it called, to the Silver Surfer, right? I've talked to her about, like, she is the bringer of the Planet Eater, right, the Void Lord, just like the Silver Surfer was the bringer. You know, he brought the, he would prepare the planet, basically, to be destroyed. And that's how I felt like she was. But she could also be the 5th Old God. Who knows? I wouldn't be shocked if that was the final reveal for her.
said, obviously, they're not coming immediately, but I can see them being added later down the line.
And if she was the 5th Old God, and her essence was stored inside of the dagger, I think that's only more proof that Azeroth is still alive, and now his essence is preserved inside the dagger.
I gotta say, despite them being cool and
Just saying, Azeroth ain't dead.
It would be amazing to actually
Just
be able
saying.
to play a Nerubian in WoW. I'm not really a huge fan of these super standard forms. Personally, I would have loved to play as a Newberg type character like back in Warcraft 3.
Jesus,
Although,
you want to play as a
let's be
giant
realistic,
beetle?
That's just not really possible with the framework that we have for the playable races. If this really is coming though, let's look at what possible classes we could be seeing with these Nerubians. Now,
Oh,
a big
Lovecraft
issue
has
with
the same kind of
Nerubians
story,
in
huh?
general
It's
is that
interesting.
most of their classes are really race specific, so they don't really fit the cookie cutter classes all that well. They're mainly known to use webs, being these...
I mean, even if they don't fit the cookie cutter classes, ever since Drakthir now, we know that that's not a holdback. Because they can just make a race-specific class. They've already done it. So that wall's already been broken. So that's not a reason why this couldn't happen
Web
anymore.
spinners, as we know them, Venomancers, these warrior types with burrowing underground, and the Crypt Lord class with these spikes. However, that is, after all, for regular Nerubians, the actual spider guys. These elf Nerubian type mixtures could
That's
100% fit regular classes from pretty much any race, as they're essentially at this point just a blank slate. We don't really know anything about them, so I could 100% see a Nerubian Warlock, or a Nerubian Warrior, or a Nerubian Rogue, or even a Priest, although a Shadow version would fit better. Now, of course,
True.
it is a bit
Shadow
too
version
early
could
to
work.
see. I mean, we only have the announcement, we have a few shots from the trailer, a few art pieces, a few models, but I gotta say, some hints are definitely here. We got a huge first patch, including Nerubians, big lore behind them, and it is really suspicious that Blizzard decided to add a humanoid form to them after like 20 years, if...
Again, this is either, look at this, look at the silhouette. This is either a female Draenei reskin or maybe a Drakthir reskin. Now that I'm looking at it, it might be a Drakthir reskin or a skinnier Drakthir. But it's one of the two, because the way the armor is sitting on him, I think it actually works out. Like when you equip boots to a female Draenei, this is how they look. They really just cover the shins.
20 years if they were only meant to be
Which would
villains in the next expansion.
them being
Another
playable more
interesting thing
realistic,
to keep
if
in mind
that's the
is
case.
that if this does actually happen and we get these 4-armed playable Nerubians, it could be a big setup for the Naga becoming playable as well, and again
that's what I
updated
said
form,
earlier,
as
yeah.
after all, if Blizzard could make Nerubians work, the Naga wouldn't be any sort of an issue. Thank you for watching. Check out what
There you
crazy
go.
features will be coming in WoW by Night by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on ancient Greek colonies in Spain by also clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.
Playable Nerubians. Playable Nerubians before playable ogres. What a world we live in. Yeah, whether or not this is going to happen, I'm still not sure. I will tell you guys. Tuskar, playable Tuskar, it's going to happen. Before the end of Dragonflight, we will get more playable races in the War Within and the other expansions coming to us. But will it be Nerubians? I guess we'll have to wait and see.